Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive Podcast, where we explore fascinating topics, answer your burning questions, and keep you in the know. I'm excited to be here, and with me today is my awesome co-host.
Hi, I'm Marie. Today we're diving into a really intriguing question. What does Death Wish coffee taste like? And is it safe to drink?
Before we jump in, don't forget to subscribe to the Deep Dive Podcast on YouTube and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode.
If you love what we do, give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It helps us a lot.
Our listener wants to know, does it live up to the hype? Does it taste good? And maybe the most important question.
Is it safe?
Exactly. Is this stuff even safe to drink? We've got a whole stack of sources to sort through. We're talking Reddit threads, scientific articles, even some of Death Wish's own marketing.
It sounds like we've got our work cut out for us.
Oh, and you know what else I heard? Apparently, Death Wish was banned from Amazon for a while.
Really?
Yeah, intrigued.
Definitely.
Let's get into it. Okay, those Reddit threads, like always, they're a goldmine of opinions.
Oh, for sure. What are people saying?
Well, someone straight up asked if Death Wish's claim of 200% more caffeine is even true.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that one floating around.
Right. And, some people were like, just drink 2 cups of regular coffee. Why bother?
I mean, that's one way to do it.
But that's where it gets kind of interesting because the type of bean actually matters way more than you might think.
It really does. A lot of people think dark roast equals more caffeine.
Yeah, I used to think that too.
It's a common misconception. Dark roast beans are actually lighter because they're roasted longer. Shops measure by weight, so you end up using more dark roast to get the same amount of coffee.
So it's kind of a wash then.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The real caffeine powerhouse is the Robusta bean, and that's what Death Wish uses. They naturally have about double the caffeine of your typical Arabica bean.
So it's not just marketing hype. There's a real reason behind their world's strongest claim.
Seems like it. Although I did see an article from Science Post claiming that Death Wish has been dethroned.
Oh, by who?
Black Insomnia.
Black Insomnia. Never heard of it.
It's another high caffeine brand, and they're packing a whopping 702 milligrams per cup.
Wow. Compared to Death Wish's estimated 472 milligrams.
That's still incredibly high. But yeah, Black Insomnia might be the new caffeine king.
Okay, so we've got some serious caffeine contenders here, but I gotta ask the important question, does it taste good?
Yeah, taste is so subjective. But I did find a review from the Coffee Chronicler, and they actually raved about Death Wish's dark roast.
Really?
Yeah, they even described Death Wish's marketing as zombie-themed, which I found pretty amusing.
Waking up from the coffee dead.
Yeah.
I like it. But marketing aside, it sounds like they're actually delivering on the flavor front. What about you? Have you tried Death Wish?
I have. We even did a little taste test here in the studio with a few different brewing methods.
Ooh, tell me about it. How did it go?
We tried both the medium and dark roasts using French press and pour-over methods.
For those of us who aren't coffee connoisseurs, what's the difference?
Well, French press is all about steeping the grounds in hot water and then using a mesh filter to press them down. Pour-over is a bit more delicate.
Delicate, okay.
You slowly pour hot water over the grounds in a filter. It really brings out those subtle flavors.
So what were your impressions of Death Wish? Was it all hype, or did it live up to the world's strongest title?
Well, I personally went straight for the dark roast brewed in a French press. And it was intense.
Yeah.
Very strong and bold, like what I imagine a lumberjack's morning brew would taste like.
Interesting. What did others think?
Some on the team thought the dark roast tasted a bit blurred, actually. The medium roast got a more mixed reaction. Some people picked up on chocolatey and cherry notes, others not so much.
Yeah, I guess it's the thing with coffee, right? Everyone's got their own preferences.
Exactly. We also found this blog post from the not-so-modern housewife.
Oh, yeah, I think I saw that one.
She loved Death Wish's smooth, dark roast. Said her husband was finally satisfied, which I think a lot of couples can relate to.
Oh, absolutely. Finding a coffee both partners enjoy. Not always easy.
Right. Her blog also had this great breakdown of Arabica versus Robusta beans, which helps explain why some people might find Death Wish's flavor a bit too much.
Makes sense. Robustas are known for that stronger, earthier taste. So that combined with a dark roast, it's definitely a unique flavor profile. But hey, remember that Amazon ban we mentioned earlier?
How could I forget? That was wild.
What's the deal with that? Was it just too strong for Amazon?
Well, nobody really knows for sure.
Yeah.
The Reddit threads are full of speculation, but the details are murky.
Murky, huh?
Some think it was a safety issue, maybe violated some of Amazon's policies. Others suspect a quality control problem, like inconsistent caffeine levels, maybe even a packaging issue.
Getting kicked off Amazon is a big deal. It makes you wonder if there's something more to the story.
Yeah, gotta wonder.
Mm.
But before we go down that rabbit hole, let's circle back to the coffee itself. You mentioned the importance of the beans, but roasting has to play a part too, right?
Yeah, doesn't roasting somehow make the caffeine stronger? I always thought dark roasts were like the caffeine kings.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Darker, stronger.
Exactly, stronger flavor, stronger caffeine.
But actually, roasting doesn't really amplify the caffeine. If anything, it reduces it slightly.
Really?
Yeah, the differences between like light, medium, and dark roasts are pretty small when it comes to caffeine.
Interesting. So what's the point of all the different roasts then?
It's all about flavor. Darker roasts tend to have that bolder, more bitter taste, which some people associate with, well, with strength.
Okay, so it's more about perception than anything else.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the bean type is what really matters.
Right, Death Wish using those Robusta beans.
Yep, and their whole marketing strategy. You know, the zombie-themed packaging, the world's strongest claim.
It all plays into this idea of extreme caffeine. But speaking of extreme, shouldn't we talk about safety? I mean, 472 milligrams per cup is a lot.
Yeah, that's way more than your average cup of coffee.
Yeah.
We definitely need to address the safety concerns.
So, like, what's the safe limit for caffeine?
The general recommendation for adults is to stay below 400 milligrams per day.
Oh, wow. So even 1 cup of Death Wish could put you over the limit.
Potentially, yeah. But it's not quite that simple.
Hmm.
Everyone's tolerance is different.
I was just thinking that. Like, I can handle a lot more caffeine than some of my friends.
Exactly.
What?
Factors like your body weight, metabolism, any pre-existing health conditions. It all plays a role.
So you really got to know your own body. But let's be real. Most people aren't grabbing Death Wish for a chill afternoon pick-me-up.
Right, it's for that extra kick.
They're looking for a serious caffeine boost. And that's where things can get a little risky.
For sure. One of the articles we looked at, the one from Caffeine Informer, specifically warned about those ultra-high caffeine products.
Oh, yeah. What did they say?
They basically said those products are really only for people who have a very high tolerance. If you're sensitive to caffeine or you haven't gradually built up your intake,
That's probably not a good idea.
you could end up with some pretty unpleasant side effects.
Jitters, anxiety, headaches.
All of that. Even I felt a little on edge after trying Death Wish, and I drink a lot of coffee.
It's powerful stuff. And it makes me think about that Amazon ban again.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe they were worried about people having bad reactions, like too much caffeine.
It's possible. You know, with Amazon's reach, they probably want to be extra cautious, avoid any potential liability.
Makes sense. But it's still weird that Death Wish hasn't really addressed the ban publicly.
It is. They're back on Amazon now, but the whole thing just raises questions about, you know, transparency and quality control.
Are they being upfront about the risks? Are they ensuring consistent caffeine levels?
Exactly. Those are things consumers have a right to know.
Ah,
But, you know, this whole conversation's got me thinking about our fascination with, like, stronger and more in
oh,
general.
totally. It's not just coffee. It's everywhere you look.
Right. Energy drinks, productivity hacks.
Always pushing the limits.
Like, we're obsessed with optimizing every aspect of our lives, squeezing every last drop of performance out of ourselves.
And Death Wish coffee, it's kind of like a symbol of that, isn't it? This extreme version of something we already consume. It makes you wonder, why are we so drawn to this intensity?
That's a good question. What is it about stronger and more that we find so appealing?
Maybe it's about control. You know, in a world where we often feel overwhelmed, maybe that extra boost of energy, that feeling of being on top of things, it gives us a sense of agency.
Could be. Or maybe it's tied to our culture of, like, achievement and productivity. We're constantly being told to do more, be more, achieve more.
And caffeine's become the tool to help us keep up.
It's not just a beverage anymore, right? It's fuel for our ambitions.
Which makes me wonder, if we're relying on caffeine to function at a certain level, are we actually masking a deeper problem?
Ooh, that's a thought. Are we pushing ourselves too hard? Are we neglecting our need for rest, for balance?
It's something to consider. And I think Death Wish, with its, extreme caffeine content, it forces us to confront those questions a bit more directly.
It's a reminder that even good things can have negative consequences if we're not careful, if we're not mindful of our limits.
So for our listener out there who's maybe on the fence about Death Wish, what's the takeaway? Good. Bad.
It's not really about good or bad, you know? It's about understanding the nuances, the potential risks and benefits, and making an informed choice.
Death Wish definitely offers a unique experience, that's for sure.
Strong, bold, and not for everyone.
But it's also more than just a caffeine kick, right? It makes us think about our relationship with stimulants, with pushing limits, with this constant pursuit of more.
And that's what makes this deep dive so interesting.
Absolutely. We've covered a lot of ground. The science, the marketing, the taste, the safety concerns, even the mystery of the Amazon ban.
We've presented the facts, but ultimately the decision of whether or not to try Death Wish is a personal one.
So, listener, what will you decide? Are you intrigued by the world's strongest coffee, or are the potential risks too much?
And what does your choice say about your own relationship with caffeine, with pushing your limits?
These are some things to ponder as you navigate your coffee journey.
And hey, even if you decide to pass on Death Wish, there's a whole world of coffee out there to explore. Lots of unique flavors and experiences to discover.
Speaking of exploring, I'm still kind of hung up on that Amazon ban.
Oh, yeah.
What really happened there? Is there more to the story?
Well, that's the thing about a good deep dive. Sometimes the more you uncover, the more questions you have.
True. Maybe we'll have to revisit this topic down the line.
Sounds good to me.
It's amazing how we started with just wanting to know if Death Wish is good and safe.
And somehow we ended up talking about, the meaning of life.
I know, right? From beans to biohacking. It's been quite a journey.
Coffee is a surprisingly deep topic, isn't it? Speaking of biohacking, one of the blogs we read mentioned Death Wish as a pre-workout drink.
Yeah, the masculine mindset coach. He was all about that caffeine boost for his workouts.
Right. But for those who are familiar, what exactly is biohacking? It's kind of a buzzword these days.
Yeah, what is it, like hacking into your biology?
It's kind of like that, yeah. It's about using different techniques to optimize your body and mind. Could be anything from, diet and exercise to sleep and supplements.
So using Death Wish before workout, that's a form of biohacking because you're using caffeine to boost your performance.
Exactly. And there is some science behind it. Caffeine can help with workouts.
But like we've been talking about, too much caffeine can have the opposite effect.
Oh, definitely. Jitters, anxiety, not exactly what you want when you're trying to work out. Plus, it brings up an interesting question, ethically speaking.
What do you mean?
Well, is it really fair to use caffeine as a performance enhancer, especially in, competitions?
That's a good point. It's kind of like the debate about performance-enhancing drugs in sports.
Exactly. Where do we draw the line? It's complicated, but it's something to think about, especially with this whole biohacking trend.
Are we pushing ourselves too hard, losing sight of, the simple enjoyment of things?
Right, like coffee. I love my morning coffee, but I don't want to need it to function.
Exactly. So, listener, as we wrap up this Death Wish deep dive, we really want you to think about your own relationship with caffeine.
With pushing your limits, with always wanting more.
We've given you the info, the insights, the questions.
Now it's up to you to decide.
Death Wish or something else.
Yeah.
Biohacking or a different path.
Keep exploring those mysteries like that Amazon ban. Who knows what else is out there?
Whatever you choose, we hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought.
And maybe even inspired you to approach your coffee journey with a little more awareness, a little more adventure.
So, until next time,
happy caffeinating.
That's it for today's episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. If you've tried Death Wish coffee, let us know in the comments what you think of it.
And don't forget to subscribe to the Deep Dive Podcast on YouTube. Like, share, and hit that bell so you never miss our deep dives into fascinating topics.
We wish you all a happy new year filled with joy, health, and great coffee, whether it's Death Wish or something a little milder.
Cheers to 2024, everyone. Stay curious and keep diving deep.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.